To create a drawing for exercise 3, again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by having my part file open and select New, Drawing, and OK. Make sure you give it a name, that way you don't have to fight with trying to rename it later on down the process. I'll select a drawing and OK. And again, it's going to bring in some default views here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and move these a little bit so that I've got plenty of room to work. And again, I'm going to do a projected right side view so that I've got more than enough views. Now, with this particular drawing, there's something that I need to do that's going to help me out in the process. This is the first time that we've encountered this, but what I need to do is I need to retrieve some information from the actual model file to help me out as far as this is concerned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Show Model Annotations, and then I'm going to left click the view that I want to be seen. Now what you can see is there's a lot of dimensions and things like that that come in, but I'm not necessarily concerned with dimensions right now. Later on down the road we will be using the retrieve dimensions to actually bring in some of the dimensions, but for right now we're just placing dimensions so that you all can become familiar with that. So what I want to do is I want to click on this far box on the right hand side, and what you'll see is it's going to bring up this center line. So I'm going to left click that center line and say apply, and then I can go ahead and cancel out of there. I now have a center line that runs through my circle for dimensioning purposes and any other purposes that I may need that line for. So now I'm going to go ahead back to dimension, and I'm going to begin the dimensioning process. I've got that center line there, that comes up 1.5. I've got my overall height, which is 3.5. The distance from here to here is going to be 1, so I'll place that. Distance from here to here is going to be 2.5. I can go ahead and dimension this. This is slightly different from the original drawing. The original drawing had this segment dimensioned, and I have this segment dimensioned. Either way, it's going to be fine. The main thing is that you have a dimension in place. And then I can do the same thing. Rather than pulling off a dimension of this, I can come over here where I have a little bit more room, and I can pull off a dimension from there. And then by using simple math, 3.5 minus 2.5 gives me 1 inch for this segment right here. And then when I just left click on this and bring my dimension out, you're going to notice that it's going to come up with a radius. To avoid coming up with a radius dimension when I want a diameter, back in the dimension command, what I'm going to do instead of single clicking is I'm going to double click it and then move my dimension out here, and what you're going to notice is that it does give it a diameter when you double click. So now I'm going to move this thing so that it's a little bit neater as far as its placement is concerned, and then go back to dimension and continue dimensioning this object. I need this dimension right here, which is 0.4, dimension for here of 0.5, we'll do here of 0.5, and then the only other dimension that I really need for this particular object is the height of this. And before I place that, I can see that I'm going to need to move that out a little bit so I have room to place it. So I will go ahead and click here and locate my dimension over here, and I get my 1.5. So I've got my total height of 3.5. I have the 1.5 here, the 2.5 calling out this. I've got my 0.5s in, and everything looks like it's pretty much in order. The only other thing that I might want to put in here, it's also in the assignment, is another dimension from here to here, which is going to be 2. And what that does is that eliminates the assumption that this particular piece is centered. By eliminating that assumption, I make the actual quality of the drawing a little bit better, because now there's nothing to be assumed as far as this is concerned. So here I've got my 3 views, my isometric view, everything is for the most part in place. And at this point I'm going to talk a little bit about another thing that we haven't really been doing. Most of the views and stuff that we've created so far don't have any hidden lines. Well, if I want to put hidden lines in the view, what I need to first do is double click the view. And my computer's not allowing me to double click right now. Okay, evidently with the screen recording software running, I can't double click. Let me go back to the layout. Okay, being on the layout tab will allow me to go in there. So now what I can do is I can look at this. The model view names, this is trimetric views. Trimetric is just a fancy way of saying orthographic as far as everything is concerned. We can actually switch views to isometric and do whatever we want. Under view display, we have our display style. In this case, I can change from hidden or from no hidden to hidden. When I say apply, you'll see that my hidden lines come in for this. So I could close this, double click this one, go to view display, change this to hidden, apply that, close, double click this view, view display, hidden, apply that, and close that. Now I have hidden lines in all of my views. And at this point, again, my last step is to come up here to publish, PDF, export, save it out to my desktop or flash drive or wherever I happen to be saving it. And here I've got my drawing complete with hidden lines and all of my dimensions in place.